lovelies, welcome back to another video. This is a bit more of a watch me work one, and it's when I created one hand of this set. So we'll jump straight in on this dreary autumn morning. Here's my hand. You can see that I've pre-prepped my nails. I'm a massive anxiety biter. Anybody that knows me knows that I suffer with really severe anxiety, and I take it out on myself usually through biting, and then obviously working I'm just filing that skin off as well. So the best thing for me to do is to pop a set of nails on, and it really discourages me from biting, and I find that with a lot of clients as well. You can see that my nails are quite thin because I am terrible with my own hand. So I've pushed back my cuticles and I have gently roughed off the shine. I'm going to use the Perfect Nail Tips, the tapered square from Wow Bow. These were new, and look at this little collage, look, woo! And this is the first time I've used them. So grabbing my nail glue, I don't know if anybody else does this, but I put a little bit of blue tack on the bottom, so between using it I can stand it up, because they're a nightmare really, unless you want to keep hold of them. They just fall over and you get glue everywhere, which is a bit of a nightmare. I know one needs glue everywhere. Honestly, I've stuck myself together more times than I care to even think about. So they're pretty easy to use, these, and I apologise because I've not really videoed one of these watch me work things before, so quite a lot of the time it's out of shot. I had to position it in a really weird way. Hopefully the more I do them the better I'll get at them, but I've cropped some of the footage. I've sped a lot of it up because a lot of it, quite frankly, is out of shot or out of focus, so my apologies. So you can see there I've literally just popped it onto the end. I pre-sized all the tips up for my hand. They are perfectly straight out. Look at those gorgeous straight tips. These are matte finish, so you don't need to pre-roughen them at all, which is really cool. But don't let the matte put you off. When I was a new tech, I saw a lot of these matte tips and I thought, well, what if I want to do a crystal tip, like a glass see-through tip, and these are matte? When actually, when you get acrylic, even if you put clear acrylic over them, or whatever you're using, as long as you buff it, and then when you put your top coat on, they go absolutely crystal clear. So the box is not lying. Look at that, look how quick was that? Little collage of me sticking them on. Anyway, they're really cool, and they've got a really beautiful C curve. I can sculpt, but I tend not to. Only really sculpt if it's a problem nail, or a oddly shaped nail, or a really wide nail bed, but I generally will tip. And these are that sort of C curve that you get from sculpting generally. I'm using the Wow Bow tip cutters. These are really sharp and they cut really beautifully. You know, sometimes when you use tip cutters and you're sort of forcing through the tip and you get that white line at the end, you can see with these it's just a really crisp cut, and I love them. I think they're brilliant. They just don't massacre the tips, and I was planning to do a clear-ish tip on one of these sets. I'm making them fairly short. I was contemplating doing this set really long for the video and then cutting it down, but do you know what, I just didn't, because I need to have them manageable for work. So there you go, boring, might do them longer next time. I'm using the Wow Bow metal file, and they come in thick and thin refills. As you can see, these ones are a bit spongy, they're really thin, and some people prefer one, some people prefer the other. What I prefer to do, and this might be a little trick for people, is I put the thin side, the thin refill on one side of the file, and I use that for edges, and so you're shaping flat edges for coffin or square, and also to get really crisp smile lines or colour blocking. And then I put the thick refill on the other side as well, so that you've got that spongier like depth, you know, when you use a sort of a buffer, more buffer style file, so that you've got that on the other side for all over shaping, and I just find that that's a little bit more comfortable anyway. So you can see I've left this in real time, and I don't know if it's of any interest to anybody, but with the ways that service is going with disposable files and all the rest of it, I just found this is the best way for me personally, for my clients, because once they are used, you can see I'm going to like press the spongy bit, once they've been used on a client, after service I can literally just whip those files off. They just come off, and if there's any sticky residue left, then you can just use a bit of acetone on a cotton pad just to pop that off, and then I sterilise the metal. So every time somebody comes in, they're literally getting brand new sterile files, and it isn't particularly costly with Wow. So yeah, there you go. So I'm just showing you briefly that I'm just refining those edges, although these are tapered square tips, and you can see obviously if you pinch the C curve more, they're more tapered. I just wanted them slightly more tapered for my own personal preference, so I just brought those edges in ever so slightly, but you can see that actually they're still pretty square. And where I've taken so much of the length off, they're not as tapered obviously as the full length. So I've left all of this kind of prep work in because a lot of people ask about these little steps and how I prep. The only thing that I didn't show you really was the cuticle work. So I'm just using I think that's a medium grit sandband or a fine. And I do faff about a bit because it's my own hand, and if I was doing this on a client I probably would be on to like the third nail by now, but always with myself I'm a bit more faffy. I tend to file most of the wings off of tips, just to bring down the thickness along the edges, because you know nobody wants a bulky nail. But all I'm doing really is just going along the very edge and blending that tip in. You really don't need to do this with these tips. They are so thin. They feel really flimsy. And when I first got the box through, I was really reluctant. Even though I'm an ambassador for the company, I got the box through and I felt the tips and I was like, oh God, these are not going to last. But do you know what? They're flimsy, but when you bend them, they don't line. So you don't get that white line on them, but they are really tough. They're actually really tough. They're really bendy, but they really hold their shape and their structure really well. I was quite impressed. This is me screaming because I've just sprayed sanitizer spray into all of that open. Yeah, anyway, I'm just going to move on from that. So there you go. There's a bit of me screaming in pure agony. I hope you all enjoyed that. That was just basically to de-dust. And there's me stroking my poorly thumb bear. Anyway, let's get back to it. So what I do is spray the sanitizer onto a dust brush. And what that does is get the dust out of the cuticles and off of the nail plate. And it also dehydrates. So I don't use a dehydrator. I literally use that, and it's a dual purpose. I'm going to just show you then, I'm popping on my acid-free primer, which again is Bao. I'm gonna put everything in the description probably, but if there's anything particular that you want to know what I've used, I'm just showing you my fancy dish with my monomer with a tiny bit of glitter floating in the bottom. If there's anything that you see that I've used that I haven't listed for whatever reason, because I might be really lazy by that point, then message me, put me a comment or something, let me know. This is my Wow size 14 brush, which is a flat brush and is my favourite. Out of the 12, 14 and 16, the 14 is my favourite. I love it. I don't know what I'm doing here, just milling about and messing around, obviously. Right, this is the crystal clear. This is the bigger tub, 4-ounce tub I think it is. I would advise getting the bigger tubs. We also do an 8-ounce. which is brilliant value for money, and I've got that as well, and I'm going to be cracking into that next. So for me, I tend to use a tiny little bead of clear, and I pop it over the natural nail and just pull it onto the tip. So anything that you didn't blend fully, you're going to give yourself a nice flat surface to work from. And also you're going to protect your nail. So for me, I don't always do a clear base depending on the client and the set. I have some really vivid colours planned for this set, and I don't really want to stain my nail, so in this respect it's being used kind of like a base coat for, I guess, anybody that doesn't know already. But also it gives me something to file back to, so when I want to change from all these vivid colours, then I can just go back to the clear without having to get right back down to the natural nail. So this is Pumpkin Spice. It is a pre-mixed glitter acrylic, and it is just glitter. There's no colour to it. It is just chunks of glitter suspended in clear acrylic. Usually, if this is the sort of glitter that you're using just in a clear, I would suggest putting a matched colour underneath, just a really thin coat up at the cuticle or whatever, just so that you haven't got any little gaps. But what I wanted to do was literally just have the glitter, which just means that you need to do a bit more fiddling than usual to get that full coverage. And I've sort of ombreed it down because I want the end to be kind of semi-clear. So the other colours that I'm using are Brick, which is this gorgeous sort of burnt orange. It looks a bit brighter on camera than it is in real life. It's more towards the terracotta tone than it is the brighter of the oranges. It is a really warm colour. It's perfect for Halloween, it's perfect for autumn. It's actually, I've used it in summer sets as well, so it does really hold its value all year round, if you like. It's a good holiday colour as well. What I'm doing here is just painting on half of the nail, and then I'm going in with this colour, which is Velvet, which is a really, really lush deep red colour. It goes on quite bright, and then as it dries it does go a bit darker and deeper in tone, which is lush. And just going to tidy that bit up. So as you can see, what I'm going to do here, bit by bit by bit, and I don't know why I've chosen the smallest nail possible to do a vertical acrylic ombre, but obviously I'm a glutton for punishment, and this is what you get for that. I've left that in just to show you. This is what you get for not looking where you're wiping your brush. Bits of glitter, and then I've just pulled all of that brick colour off of my ombre, so I'm going back in. Anyway, I'm going to faff about with it for a while, and I think I've cut some of the footage off because, yeah, that. Anyway, I'll just let you watch me faffing around. A little bit more red, a little bit more orange, a little bit more red, a little bit more orange. Does anybody else find that it's so much harder doing this stuff on yourself than it is on a client? I used to think when I first started nails that doing my own nails was so much easier, but I actually realised that was just anxiety. And actually it's so much easier doing clients' nails because you can manipulate their hand to how you want it most of the time. I mean, relax your hand is sort of a daily phrase, but you know, I love the way that the acrylic goes on, and actually just watching this while I'm doing the voiceover, I'm just going, oh, that's so satisfying. I'm a bit annoyed I didn't get that in one bead, but I wasn't really, I'm not one of those, like, has to be one bead, I have to be a one bead hero. It doesn't go on in one bead, you just put another bead on, that's just how that is. I would definitely say don't put pressure on yourself to do that sort of stuff, because yes, it can speed your time up a bit, but you'd spend so much time worrying about it and putting pressure on yourself about it that actually you could have done the nails by then. You know, I'm rambling. Do you know what? I was editing this really late last night, and now it's first thing in the morning. I'm sat here with a coffee and I'm really tired. And I'm talking rubbish as usual. But those of you that watch any of my videos will probably know that there is nothing else other than rambling nonsense. So I decided what would be a really good idea would be to faff around with this glitter again and just do like a half and half, and not be so worried about the full coverage, because I've got a colour underneath and you see how much difference that makes. So I think I'm going for another vertical ombre. I wish that my camera would just decide where it was going to focus, you know? It was really annoying at this point. And I've left some of this footage in. I'm really sorry that it's all blurry and some of it's out of shot, and it's annoying me more than it's annoying you, I bet. But I'm going to do some more of these and see if I can figure out some kind of focus, magic, trickery, tomfoolery. I don't know. That's how technical I am, just in general. It's not because I'm tired, that's literally because I know nothing about technology. I'm not a nail tech for my technical skills with apps. So I probably should have sped this bit up. I quite like this. The brown there that I'm using is called Mystery, and it's a really nice brown. It's a really kind of soft brown. We do have some darker browns. There's cocoa and like penny is kind of a browny bronze colour. Cocoa is a really deep brown, but it's got glitter in it, which is amazing. But yeah, I really like that mystery colour. It's not a mystery colour, we know what colour it is, but it's called Mystery. There you go. Jokes. If you hear the woofing in the background, that's my dog. Yeah, there you go. It's maybe a postman or a leaf blowing around, perhaps, outside. Someone might even have the audacity to have left their house on our road and be walking past. So I apologise for the barking, but I have a Dachshund and that's basically all they do is bark and eat. And he's going to probably come and take a big drink now, which is going to sound like that's lovely. That's lovely, Frank. We call that a slop slop. There you go. The soundtrack to my nail video is my sausage dog taking a massive drink because I've given him a pig's ear to chew on. Right then, so I've decided to do a marble on the thumb, which is kind of pointless because nobody ever sees the thumbs really, but I kind of wanted to do a marble and I didn't feel that it would fit in the flow of the set. So I've chucked it on the thumb because I can do what I like. So I'm just going to carry on with that brick and velvet and mystery marble, and then I'm going to kind of tease the edges along so I've got full coverage and fiddle with it. There's no right or wrong in marble. I kind of like these colours together. They do look really nice, very autumnal, which was the point. And I'm going to chuck some glitter in, and I'm going to speed it up because really pre-mixed glitter is just faffing around, and that's kind of all there is to pre-mixed glitter. That's what you do with it. That's what it is. I decided that I wanted to chuck some leaves on, and I'm just going to go and get this dog because he's just going to balk. I had a look at the colours that I've got, and they're all kind of holographic leaves. I like the idea of putting some red on to complement. I thought that the gold and the orange leaves wouldn't really stand out enough, so I went for the red. They were a bit of a pest to put on, to be honest, because I didn't bend them, so they were just kind of sat on there flat. And then when I tried to push them on, they were coming off because I didn't let them stay on long enough. And anyway, I don't have the patience for it, so that's what happened there, and that's why I sped it up, because it would probably frustrate you to watch it. And then here I'm just clear capping, using Wild Crystal Clear, and trying to get the shape as good as I can with the brush. I mean, obviously you file them afterwards, so you refine your shape and you refine all of that shaping across the top and, you know, everything. But really something that I need to do is work on my application, I suppose, as all texts do, and you know, getting your structure and everything right, and then getting your application right cuts down on your filing time, and it is quite satisfying to not really have to file very much. Just showing you, that's my little leaf left over. I'm showing you, it's like a watercolour. It's a really pretty watercolour. And also just showing you that I'm using waxing strips for my brush wipe off, and I found actually they're really good. So I've just cleared the area down after I've clear capped, and then I'm going back in with the metal file, and these are amazing for edges, just taking off any little bits that have gone over the edge and refining my shape again. I think I'm going to speed through this part because really it's just getting your edges sharp again from any bits of acrylic that have gone over the edge, or if you've made the edges slightly too thick, or, you know, it's easy done when you're layering up acrylics, colours, and then you're clear capping as well. So that's literally all I'm doing, is just refining those straight edges. And yeah, they look a little bit more in shape. They were looking a bit chunk before. So this is a fine bit with a flat head, and I use this primarily just for cuticle tidy up, sidewall tidy up, that sort of thing. But then I do go all over with it. Looks like I'm being really brutal, but I'm actually touching it really, really gently because my cuticles are very sore. So although I'm not filing my cuticles, any sort of touching on my cuticles is actually incredibly sore there. And yeah, it looks like I'm being really rough, but I'm actually tapping really, really gently. Very deceiving and out of focus. Right, so I will probably speed through the rest of it. You don't really need to see me refine shaping this. With this sort of design work where it does build up a little bit, I do start off refining with the E-file, just to get the bulk down. And as I was saying, really, when you look at your application, there shouldn't really be any bulk, and actually for me there shouldn't really be any bulk, but there is. So, you know, can't be perfect all the time. I think there's so much pressure on techs to have perfect application, you know, perfect this, perfect that, but actually trust the process. And if it does look a bit bulky, and these really did look a bit bulky, a minute ago. And short nails are really hard not to look bulky, especially when you're doing acrylic design on shorter nails. Trust the process and trust that as long as you've got your layers fairly thin, that you can refine all that shape back in. So I'm just using another dust brush to take most of the dust off, and double checking that I have got my sides in and probably my edges again, because I'm a little bit paranoid about that. And then I'm finishing off the shape refinement with the thick side of these files, and I go up and down from cuticle to free edge to get you that straight line, and that takes you from your free edge to your apex, and then you have it goes back down. You'll know what structure is. That's why you're here, because you already know this stuff. You just want to watch someone else do it. You can see that I've over filed that middle nail. I filed it down too thin, and I've gone through one of those red leaves, and I'm fine with that. Actually, they're my nails. Had it been a client's, then you know, a lot of the reason that that's been filed around the edges is because I didn't bend it. And I left it flat, and obviously if you leave it flat on a bendy bit of the nail, then it's going to stick up at the edges, and that's what's happened. I've literally just filed the edges off, and you know, they're my nails, so I'm fine with that. If it had been a client, I would have bent it, but I don't care. These will probably come off in about 4 days, and I'll do another set. So after I've refined the shape and I'm happy with it, I'm just buffing them, and that's just to take out all the demarcations and the deep scratches from filing. This I'm using again just to go underneath, just to flatten that curve underneath and tidy it up a little bit from all the filing. Sometimes with tips you get a little bit of plastic overhang, and I'm just taking that off. Going back in with the sanitizer spray and that brush, and I'm getting right in that cuticle, which is really painful, but don't worry about me. And I'm getting right underneath the nails as well. So I've taken all the brush, dust brush, you know what I'm saying. I've taken it all out. So I've left this in. This is just some off-brand spider gel. And it had settled, and this stirring was really satisfying, so I've left it in. I made a decision to add some spider gel because I thought, why not? I like it. I like spider gel. I like messing with it. And I thought the gold lines would actually look really cool on here. And yeah, so I popped some on. I don't really recommend that you go onto the skin like I have with this. Perhaps use some liquid latex stuff to go around the cuticle where you're going to touch that on. I wouldn't recommend putting any nail products on the skin or near the skin at all. What I do is I have a lint-free pad with some spray, sanitizer spray, and I clean up the cuticle before I cure it. But even so, I would avoid it anyway. Just stick to the nail, go on the nail. So I'm just going to do the same thing with the little finger, but sort of through the middle rather than up one side. But they're kind of just random lines. They're not all straight. They kind of flare out. And then I cure those, and I'm just going to show you my top coat process. I have added some crystals as well over the little finger and the index finger, and they are just like the gold coloured crystals and some gold caviar beads in just a size order, normal thing. I didn't show putting the crystals on because I will probably do another video showing how I apply crystals. That's I think it just would have made this video too long, really, and quite frankly after 34 minutes of me chatting to you, you know, you've probably had enough. And I don't blame you, I've had enough. of myself. I love that. I love that pumpkin spice glitter. It's possibly one of my favourites. I'm not really an orangey kind of girl, and I think this is the first set of orange nails I've probably ever had. But I actually really like them. And actually, I never wear square either. So, yeah, all firsts for me. But I thought, you know, the weather's changing and I need to get something on there and it's relevant. So, they're on. And I like them. Funky, funky. I do love a bit of top coat porn. So beautiful. And I love this top coat as well. It is literally the most shiny top coat. I then wipe down the edges of the nails, and you can see it's taking some of that top coat off on my gloves. Please don't do that with your hands, just do it with gloves. And that's just to help keep your shape refined. After I've cured them, let them cool down. Please don't put cuticle oil on when they're still warm out of the lamp, because you'll really dull the shine of the top coat. So make sure that they completely cool down and then pop your top coat on. I am going to drown these in top coat because I've really battered my hands picking and biting and working and all sorts of stuff. We've all got clients that are nail biters. I don't think I've ever met a tech that doesn't have nail biter clients. Really pushed the point on the whole cuticle oil thing. It's not just great for them and great for their skin, but also it's a deterrent. If they've got cuticle oil on, they're not going to necessarily bite them. I'm certainly not going to bite the skin around my nails and cuticles if I've got loads of oil on there and it tastes funny. And they shouldn't eat it anyway. But you know, it's also a mindfulness thing. If they're taking time to look after them, they're less likely to make them sore. It is a difficult one, and as a nail biter, well, I'm not a nail biter, but as a skin biter around the nails myself, you know, I don't lecture my clients about it, but I do try and help. So these are the finished article. I've only done one hand, and that's probably how it will stay. I'll probably gel polish the other hand. And I really like them. I love the way they've come out. I love that little glass tip. And I did use the liner brush just to put top coat on the underside of that and cured it just to make it a bit more clear. That's a little tip if anybody didn't know that. And I'm showing the thumb as well. I'm loving this thumb. I'm loving that marble with the glitter streaked through it. It probably would have been better on a more visible finger. But yeah, there you go. You can see the really beautiful C curves on those. You can pinch these as well, like you would if you were sculpting. Once they've started to, you've got some acrylic on, they've started to set, do the same. So there we go. There's my beautiful autumn watch me work. Hope you've enjoyed it. If there's anything else that you can think of that you really want to see, let me know. Ta-da! And thanks for watching. See ya.